Okporo, where phone screens glow brighter than candlelight and gossip flies faster than wind, lived a young woman named Kamsi Umeh. At 23, Kamsi had everything the internet craved: beauty, style, and a venomous tongue that didn't spare anyone. Her skin was smooth like polished marble, her waist snatched, her nails long and glittering, and her tongue sharper than a broken bottle. Online, she was known as Queen of Buzz, feared and admired on the X app, a rebranded version of Twitter. On her pinned tweet was her motto, "Wahala be like bicycle, and I be the road." Kamsi didn't steal. She didn't fight on the streets. She didn't curse people out in real life. But behind her cracked iPhone 11 and backup technophone, she waged war on strangers daily. She mocked their faces, insulted their outfits, and cooked up cruel captions that made her followers laugh and beg for more. Her small room in Okporo was a shrine to her ego. A ring light glowed like a halo above her dresser. Her wig stand had 5 styles, and her wall was lined with printouts of screenshots, posts she had dragged into viral shame. That morning, Kamsi lay on her bed, scrolling through chat buzz, when she found a post from an older woman named Ioma Okafor. The woman wore a red head wrap and sat beside a grave with a caption that read, "Another year without you, my sunshine. Mama still loves you." Kamsi frowned. "Who'd a post-grave picture for mourning?" she muttered. And without blinking, she quoted the post. "No be your face chase her enter grave?" Within seconds, comments rolled in. "She no Lisha. You too savage. Queen of Buzz Donland." The woman didn't respond. But Kamsi didn't stop. She scrolled deeper into the woman's page and found an old video where Imma Ioma, trembling with grief, had once said, "They burned my baby in front of me." Kamsi didn't hesitate. She reposted it with a caption. That child saw the future and said, "I'm out." She added laughing emojis, posted, and closed the app. That evening, her friend Tonya Okiki returned from school and found Kamsi cackling over her growing followers. "Kamsi," Tonya said gently, "this is too much. That woman? I read she lost her child in an attack. Be careful." Kamsi sucked her teeth. "Tonya Abeg, if she can't handle buzz, she should log off. This is the internet, not Bible study." Tonya sighed and turned to leave, but she whispered something under her breath. "Spirits watch too, Kamsi, not just humans." Kamsi didn't hear her. That night, while plugging in her phone, she saw one last notification. It was a reply from the woman. Only 3 words. "I'm on my way." Kamsi scoffed at the woman's comment. "I'm on my way." She laughed, tossed her phone to the side, and turned up the volume on her Bluetooth speaker. Burna Boy's voice filled the room as she twirled in her mirror. "Who they breathe," she said with a wink. To her, it was just another day. Another dragged soul, another viral moment. But outside, the evening air was heavy, thicker than usual. Okporo's usual generator hum and suya smoke seemed quieter tonight. Tonya, who had gone out to buy bread, returned home to find the compound unusually still. Inside, Kamsi prepared for bed. She checked her last post. Over 6,000 likes and 2,000 retweets. Her heart swelled with pride. She even gained 400 followers that day alone. With a satisfied sigh, she pulled her duvet over her body and switched off the ring light. That was when she heard it. Swish! A sharp sound sliced through the air like a cane cutting wind. Kamsi sat up. "Who's that?" she called out. But the room was empty. She turned on her flashlight. Nothing. Just as she was about to lie back down, another lash struck, but this time it landed. "Ah!" Kamsi screamed, clutching her back. She spun around, eyes wide in terror. "Who dey? Tonya! This no be funny!" Then the air grew colder. Her curtains began to sway, though the windows were shut, and from the corner of the room, a woman began to emerge. Floating, wearing a red head wrap, her eyes like burning coal, her voice as calm as rain after fire. "You told me to come," she said, "so I came." In her hand was a long cane, carved with ancient symbols, nativity marks that moved and shimmered like oil on water. Kamsi tried to run, but her door flung open on its own, and behind it was the same woman, waiting. Kamsi screamed and ran toward the window, but it showed not Okporo, only a red earth forest, shadowed by strange trees whose leaves whispered her name. The door she once knew opened into a different world now, one that pulsed with unseen anger. The woman raised the cane and struck again. No! Kamsi fell, screaming, crawling, pleading. Please, it was just a tweet. I was joking. Please, I didn't mean it. But the woman said nothing. She kept flogging, her feet never touching the ground. Her cane left no wounds, but the pain seared through Kamsi's soul. Tonya burst into the room at the sound of the screams, but when she flung open the door, Kamsi was curled in a corner, sobbing, trembling, her eyes darting like a trapped animal. She's flogging me, she cried. She's still here. But Tonya saw nothing. The room was empty, still. But Kamsi's terror was real. Tonya held Kamsi tightly, her arms trembling. Her best friend, normally loud, fearless, and full of wicked clapbacks, was now reduced to a sobbing wreck. Her lace bonnet hung halfway off her head. Her once smooth voice was cracked, and her arms flinched at invisible strikes. She's flogging me, Tonya. The woman from the post. She came. She beat me. Tonya looked around again. The room was empty. Still. But the way Kamsi shook violently in her arms, there was no doubt something had happened. They rushed Kamsi to Divine Mercy Medical Center, Okporo's only private clinic. The nurses asked if she was attacked, drugged, or abused. Kamsi couldn't even speak. She just kept whispering, "Red head wrap, cane, cane, cane." Doctors ran tests. Her body had no bruises. Her heartbeat was fast, her blood pressure unstable, but no physical trauma. One of the nurses even leaned over to Tonya and whispered, "Is she possessed?" Back at home, Mama Kiruka, Kamsi's mother, received a call that jolted her awake in Arochukwu. She arrived by the next morning, looking every bit the woman of prayer she was, headscarf tight, Bible in hand, voice steady. She walked into the hospital room and gasped. Her daughter, her pride, her once golden girl, was curled up like a frightened child. "Mama, she flogged me," Kamsi whispered, eyes wide and tearful. "I told her to come and beat me, and she did. Mama, she came with spirits. I saw the forest. I saw trees with mouths. I heard them whispering my name." Mama Kiruka's lips tightened. "You have opened a door with your tongue, Kamsi. That woman was no ordinary woman. Grief carries a power deeper than insult. You mock sorrow, and now sorrow has entered you." Tonya broke the silence. "She needs help. Serious help." Mama Kiruka nodded slowly. "This is no sickness. This is spiritual." She pulled out her old Nokia phone and dialed. "We are taking her to True Light Fire Ministry tonight." That evening, the three women arrived at the small church near Umuguma Junction. There, Pastor Amos Nduka, a man known for fire prayers and exposing hidden spirits, was already waiting. The church was quiet, candles lit at the altar, olive oil glinting under fluorescent light. Kamsi was laid gently on a mat before the pulpit, her body still twitching. Her hands clutched her stomach, like something inside was tearing at her. Pastor Amos looked down at her and said only one thing. "You mocked a mother who carries fire in her soul. Now that fire has found you." He opened his Bible. "We begin tonight." The night inside True Light Fire Ministry was heavy, thick with incense, prayers, and cries. The walls echoed with murmurs of psalms as Pastor Amos stood over Kamsi, his Bible open and voice firm. "Father, we call upon your fire, not to destroy her, but to release her." As the prayer began, Kamsi let out a scream so piercing it rattled the windows. Her body jerked off the mat, then slammed down again like she was being yanked by an invisible rope. Tonya, standing by with a white scarf around her head, couldn't stop the tears from falling. Mama Kiruka knelt with her face to the ground, her hands clutched in desperate prayer. "My daughter, oh God, have mercy." Pastor Amos poured anointing oil on Kamsi's head, and the moment it touched her scalp, she shrieked, "She's here again! She's flogging me! The cane is hot! It's burning me!" She clawed at her back, twisting, her shirt damp with sweat, but no welts appeared, just the unseen pain that left her breathless and screaming. The pastor's voice thundered, "Spirit of sorrow, vengeance, torment, whatever you are, you have no legal right. Release her." But the spirit held firm. Kamsi's body convulsed again. Her voice changed, low, gravelly, not her own. "She laughed at my pain. She laughed at my child's grave. She dared me to come." The lights flickered. Everyone in the small church froze. Pastor Amos held firm. "And who are you?" The voice hissed. "I am Grief, and I came when her mockery called me." The wind howled. The candles blew out. Tonya fell to her knees. "God, please, please help her." Mama Nikaruka ran to her daughter's side, holding her trembling hand. "Forgive her. She's my only child. She didn't know. Please don't let this end her." As dawn crept through the stained glass windows, Kamsi lay limp. She had cried so hard through the night her voice was hoarse. Her fingers were raw from digging at the floor. Then, just as the sun rose, she whispered one thing, barely audible, but enough. "The forest is opening again." The pastor sighed and looked at Mama Nikaruka. "We are only just beginning. She must sleep here. 5 nights, no leaving, no phones, no distractions, just prayers, or else. She will not survive the 6th. The wooden floor of True Light Fire Ministry became Kamsi's bed, her altar, her battlefield. On the first night, she could barely eat. Her body twitched every time someone touched her, as if invisible whips still followed her into the waking world. The candles burned low. Mama Nikaruka stayed on her knees by the altar, whispering psalms. Tonya stayed awake beside Kamsi, gently dabbing her forehead with a wet cloth. At midnight, it began again. Swish, swish. Kamsi's body arched off the floor with a scream. "She's back! The cane! She's using it again!" But no one saw anything. She cried so violently that oil spilled from her anointed forehead. Her limbs flailed, mouth foaming slightly. Pastor Amos came forward and began to pray louder, binding every spirit of mockery, cruelty, and vengeance. She is no longer the girl who mocked pain. She is the one who feels it now. By dawn, Kamsi lay soaked in sweat and silence. The second night, her body calmed, but something new began. She started mumbling names in her sleep. Chibuzo, Hadiza, Nene. She didn't know who they were, but Tonya did. They were users she had publicly humiliated online, people who'd gone viral after Kamsi dragged their weight. Their grief, their appearance. Kamsi whispered apologies in her sleep, lips trembling, tears sliding down her face. "I didn't mean it. I didn't know." Her fingers stiffened, claw-like. Her breath came in shallow gasps. She didn't scream that night. She mourned. The third night was worse. Kamsi stopped talking altogether. She sat up once to say, "She brought others. They're not silent anymore." Then silence. She wouldn't eat, wouldn't drink, wouldn't cry. Her eyes just stared at the ceiling as if something was whispering there. When Pastor Amos prayed, she did not respond. When Mama Nikaruka sang, she did not blink. Only when Tonya took her hand and whispered, "God is still here," did Kamsi murmur something. "Not for me. I laughed at a grave." By the fourth night, the church lights flickered as soon as prayers began. Kamsi finally drifted into a deep sleep, and in her dream, she returned to the forest. This time, she saw the woman again, but she wasn't alone. Beside her was a small grave, and peeking from the grave was the face of a burnt little girl. Kamsi froze. The woman clutched a baby shoe to her chest. She was crying again. "You laughed at my grief," she said. Kamsi fell to her knees in the dream, sobbing. "I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. Please forgive me." But the woman didn't step forward. You knew enough to type it, to send it, to laugh. You didn't need to see my face. You needed to see my pain, and you chose not to. Kamsi wept. I want to take it back. The woman's eyes blazed. But my child is still dead. Kamsi woke up the next morning with her pillow soaked in tears, chest heaving like she had run through fire. Her body was weak, but for the first time she whispered, "Please, tell her I'm sorry." By the fifth night, the air inside True Light Fire Ministry was still. No chants, no thunder, no screams, just silence. Kamsi no longer resisted sleep. She no longer feared dreams. She no longer cared about the crown of cruelty she'd once worn online. That evening, her mother sat at her feet, gently combing her hair like she was a child again. Tonya hummed a soft worship song as the pastor anointed the church walls. At midnight, Kamsi slipped into a deep slumber, the quietest yet. But in her dream, she was barefoot in a wide field. Red earth stretched endlessly. At the center stood the woman in the red head wrap beside the small grave. This time the forest was quiet. The whispers had ceased. Kamsi stepped forward slowly, hands folded, heart thudding. I'm sorry, she whispered. I know it won't bring her back. I know you don't owe me anything. But I beg you, please don't keep punishing me. The woman didn't speak. Instead, she pulled the small baby shoe to her chest and stared at the grave. Her face was softer, her eyes tired. Do you know what it's like, she said slowly, to hold your child in your arms while she burns? Kamsi choked back a sob. No, but I know what it feels like now to burn without fire. The woman turned to her, eyes hollow. You laughed at my ruin, turned it into entertainment. Grief is a language only the broken speak, and you mocked the accent. Kamsi dropped to her knees. I lost myself. The likes. The retweets. I didn't think anyone was real behind the screen. There was silence. Then the woman said, I did not come to forgive you. Kamsi's shoulders dropped. Her hope shattered. But the woman took one step forward and added, I came to teach you that grief is sacred and words are swords. She raised the small shoe to the sky and whispered, but your mother's tears reached me. Kamsi gasped. The woman looked at her and said, for her sake, not yours, I release you. The field faded. The woman vanished. Kamsi jolted awake in the church, drenched in sweat. Her mother was still beside her, humming a hymn. Tonya was praying softly, still holding her hand. She forgave me, Kamsi whispered, tears running down her face. She forgave me because of you, Mama. Mama Ninkaruka's lips trembled. She hugged her daughter, rocking her like a baby. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you for not letting sorrow swallow her. Pastor Amos stepped forward and knelt beside them. He anointed her forehead one last time. It is done, he said, but never forget, some pain carries spirits, and when we mock pain, we invite what we cannot see. The morning sun pierced through the stained glass windows of True Light Fire Ministry, casting soft colors on the floor where Kamsi Umeh lay quietly. There was no convulsion, no screaming, no whisper of forest winds or slashing cane. Just silence. Peaceful, fragile. Kamsi sat up slowly, like someone waking from a long, painful coma. She looked around the church, at the altar, the candles, the white cloth under her head. Then her eyes found her mother, still seated, still praying. Mama, she whispered. I want to go home. Mama Nkiruka's eyes welled up with tears, but she nodded. Yes, my daughter. You're ready. Later that day, back at their compound in Okporo, the sun felt warmer. Kamsi stood outside her one-bedroom apartment in silence. The same street that once echoed with laughter from her room now held only whispers. Neighbors peeked. No one dared say a word. Inside, she picked up her iPhone, the one that started it all. Notifications buzzed. Mentions, messages, trolls. Hype. She deleted everything. The X app, chat buzz, TikTok, Even her viral clapbacks screenshots on her wall, she tore them down one by one. I don't want applause again, she said to Tanya, who was quietly helping her pack. I don't want to trend, I just want to be free. In the days that followed, Kamsi no longer wore her wigs, no ring light, no filters. She sat often in her mother's room, reading psalms aloud. She helped older women in the community sweep their yards. She even visited Divine Mercy Medical Center and offered to volunteer. To serve, she said. Those who once called her Queen of Buzz barely recognized her. But peace did not come all at once. Sometimes at night, when thunder struck or a candle flickered, Kamsi would flinch. Sometimes she'd dream of red earth and baby shoes in cane-shaped shadows. But she never picked up her phone to mock anyone again. One morning, while sitting quietly outside, a young girl passed by, holding her mother's hand. The child had a limp. People stared. Someone laughed across the street. The mother looked ashamed. Kamsi stood up, walked over to her, and said gently, "Your child is beautiful. Don't let anyone make you forget that." The mother looked at her in surprise, then nodded. That evening, Kamsi sat in her room and wrote in her notebook, "Words carry weight. They can lift or crush. I learned that behind every tweet is a wound I might never see. And now I walk with my tongue tied in mercy, not mockery." This is the story of a girl who trended for cruelty and was rebranded by consequence. This is the story of how pain answered a tweet. This is the story of Kamsi Umeh and the spirit who came when she said, "Come and beat me." And if you ever find yourself about to mock someone's story online, ask yourself first, what if their sorrow can hear you?